Hey guys, Ryu here, welcome back, and in this video we're gonna be fixing this block out and making sure that everything is aligned. So first of all we need to fix that, the trigger. So let's get it on x-axis and let me make sure that it really fits here. So SX, and just gonna drop it in here. You can hold shift if you want to be more precise. There we go. This one needs to get sharpened, so click on sharpen. And also we need to enable our cavity because it's disabled. And when we're gonna go to machine tools, I think I need to disable one of the options that actually turns on and off my cavity. It drives me nuts. So machine tools, yeah, this one, toggle cavity. This is just completely annoying. There we go. I like cavity because it sort of helps me to read this shape a bit better, especially without any bevels, so that's that. Now we need to select everything and Shift S and origin to geometry, so it's going to move to respective parts. But we also need to make sure that everything is properly aligned. So this trigger, first of all, let's select the trigger, Shift select this stock, Alt X, press X to reset the mirror because it was set to symmetry, and mirror, so it's gonna be perfectly mirrored trigger. That's one. Two, the stock is fine, and now we need to align these two with the main shape. But to be able to do that, we need to actually move the gun to the cursor, because you can see that the cursor is in the world's origin. So Shift S and to origin, right? It's in the world's origin. And when we added a cube to create these barrels, it was added on the cursor. But since we were tracing these elements with box cutter, it wasn't really added on the cursor, but on top of it. So sort of, on the right hand side of this world. So we need to sort of align them all together. So what we're going to do, we're going to add an empty, okay, to this stock. So we're going to move the cursor to select it, okay, to this stock. Then we're going to Shift I and add an empty, all right. And then we're going to select all these bits, right, and the trigger, so all these bits, and Shift select the empty, Control P and object keep transform. So when I'm going to move this, I'm going to move everything. Now HardOps is actually parenting cutters to your mesh, but if any cutters are not parented, what you can do is you can select the mesh, Q, operations, and uniquify. This will assign unique cutters and parent them to each of your meshes. All right, so now with this being parented, we can deselect everything, Shift S and cursor to origin, and then click on empty, Shift S and to cursor. And this will align this gun in the middle of the world, okay? And then we can grab these two and simply, move them somewhere here, okay? We can bring the image back for a second, and we can align this image, all right? So let's just enable visibility of this image. We can align this image with our gun, more or less, okay? And we can make sure that these barrels, are actually properly positioned, right? So, see what I mean? And now you can disable the image again, so we can turn it off. Cool, and let's save it because, that's important, right? So power save. Okay guys, let's tackle this trigger. It's the second time I'm recording this video. I didn't like the previous way I explained this, and it's actually quite important because this trigger is not difficult to create, but we're going to be using quite a few tools that are really essential to HardOps and hard surface modeling. So I want to take it a bit more slow and, go deep in terms of details. First of all, what we need to do is we need to fix this cut, because you can see that neither this top face is flat, nor this edge actually follows the angle of this edge. So this is not parallel and that is not flat. Now what I could do is go to, select the mesh, go to Q, ever scroll and scroll through my modifiers, select the one that I want to adjust and go to edit mode, select the edge, G, Y, and adjust it. I could also go to local view with / and grab that face and SZ0 to scale it on Z-axis, make it flat. But it will not really fix my problem here, because even if I, like I said, adjusted it manually, I'm going to be eyeballing this, and that's not good enough, okay? So I'm going to do is I'm going to press X and delete that completely. We're going to recut that. Now, in order to recut it, we need to select that. We need to grab our background and press Alt-Z to go into X-ray mode. I'm going to go to D menu with box cutter enabled here. And pick N-gon. Alright, so let's cut it, and I'm gonna be cutting it a little bit lower than the original height here to create a bit of a thicker transition here. So let's just cut it in here, 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 here. And then when I'm gonna be following this angle here, you can see there's a dot showing. But when I'm gonna get closer and sort of overlap, it's going to change color. This indicates that this top edge is perfectly flat. So what you can do, you can click and then click again to cut. But the problem is that occasionally what happens, your mouse moves and you see that happens, and you can click here and create an additional point that you don't need. So to go around that, what we're gonna do is match this height here and simply press space to cut. Okay, this will create a perfect cut in that mesh. Alt-Z to turn off this X-ray, turn this off, and we're good to go. Perfect. Now another thing I want to do is I wanted to cut this trigger in a way that's going to follow the curvature of this stock. To do that, we're going to borrow a geometry from the stock itself. So go to edit mode, select this edge here with Control. And now there are two ways of actually doing that with Blender, okay? One way would be to rip that off with Shift D, right mouse button to cancel so it goes back to its original position, then press P and selection. That will rip this edge off of this stock and create a separate object out of it, okay? So you can select it here and, work with it. We're gonna delete it because I'm gonna show you a better way of doing it quicker, okay? So let's select this edge again with Control, and we're gonna go to Hardop's Q menu and Control click on Curve Extract, which will do exactly that. We'll separate the edge, rip it off of the geo, and it's just quicker. So go to edit mode here, E, Y, and scale it on Y axis, and let's go back here, and we're going to extrude it downwards, okay? So let's go to edit mode and select that face. And by the way, this screencast keys is bugging out again, guys. Can't do anything about it. Let's just try one more time. Select this face here and Control plus 3 times to expand the selection, and EZ, and let's go down here, and then SZ0 to scale it on a Z axis so it's perfectly flat. Now you see we got a bit of a problem with the boolean here. The boolean basically got carried over from the original stock. Because stock here, if you go to Control tilde menu and go to this wrench for modifiers and turn the boolean visibility in viewport on and off, you can see that there's a boolean here, right? And the same boolean got carried over to this mesh, okay? So we need to turn it off, or even better, remove it. So we're going to press Control tilde and simply remove it, right? And the boolean is gone. So now we're going to shift click this mesh, go to local view, and now we need to fix our cutter. So select the cutter and go to edit mode. And first what we're going to do, we're going to press 3 to clean it with machine tools, okay? This is the first thing I usually do when I'm, dealing with this kind of a mess, because it cleans the geo. It doesn't clean everything, but we're gonna get to it. So select this vert and Control click here, press F, click here on that vert, okay, in the corner here, and you can press 4. If it doesn't work for you, you can select both of them here and press F, does the same thing. And Alt click here and press F again, and this is gonna be, manifold geo. Okay, so now we need to smooth this mesh out. Normally what I would do, I would go to right click and shade smooth, and then go here, normals and auto smooth. But in terms of Hardops, it's really easy. You simply press Q and click on sharpen. This will apply smoothness, auto smooth, all kinds of things to the mesh. Okay, and for now this is okay. So now we need to boolean this trigger using the shape. So there are 2 ways you can go about it, okay? You can use intersect or slash. Intersect boolean is a bit less intuitive, but I'm going to show you both ways, okay? So Select the cutter, right? Select the boolean with shift and then go to Q and go to booleans and go to intersection. You can see that intersection boolean will slice everything outside the mesh that's an intersection between both boolean and the mesh that you're cutting. So literally the overlapping bit between two meshes, okay? Let's go back. Another way of doing this would be going to Q menu, booleans, and slash. And slash is a bit more intuitive because it's going to slash that shape into two, one in the middle, one outside. We don't need the one outside, so simply X and delete. And we are left with the shape inside. Shift 2 to remove the cutter. And let's go back to our, solid view. Now here, the reason why I see that Z fighting is because when I was explaining you regarding the cutters on this mesh and the trigger, I turned off visibility of the boolean in viewport. So go to Control tilde with the stock selected and simply turn back on the visibility in viewport. Okay, so there you go. Now it's peachy. So next thing we need to do is we need to apply these booleans. But before we do that, I want to run bevels here on these edges. What I want to do is I want to bevel these corners here, okay? But in order to bevel these corners, I need to actually bevel the cutter, and I'll tell you why. If I were to apply boolean to this mesh and try to bevel these corners, it will not work very well, and I'll show you why. If I shift D that mesh, you can see that I'm shifting and duplicating this trigger, but the booleans actually stay stationary, right? So when I'm going to right click to cancel, I can move this mesh with G, but you can see it disappears because it's been cut off by the cutters that run on the original trigger. So what I need to do is I need to copy the cutters from the original trigger and parent them to the duplicated trigger. So you can press Q, go to operations with hard-ups and uniquify. This will do exactly that. It will literally duplicate all the cutters and parent them to the mesh. Now I can move this duplicated trigger separately. So let's move it here, and I'm going to go to operations and smart apply and apply all the modifiers, okay? So now if I'm going to grab this edge here and I will try to bevel it, you will see what happens. This edge here is going to block me, okay? Watch, right? See what I mean? And that's the basically, limitation of poly modeling, okay? In NURBS modeling like Fusion 360 or Moy, this would be easy, but here we need to think, we need to think differently. So instead of applying modifiers, we're gonna bevel the modifier before applying it, okay? So we're going to click on the mesh, Q, and we're going to go to Everscroll. Scroll till you find this cutter in the middle, click, and we're going to go to edge mode and we're going to start beveling the cutter, right? And it's gonna bevel live on the mesh. See, so 4 segments is enough here, right? Here we're gonna have another 4. So 4, and here in the bottom we can have 6. It's good to have different size of bevels. It's actually really nice for your design. So we're gonna create a bit of a bigger bevel here in the bottom. Don't overdo it, because this kind of a bevel is fine. Cool. So we're good to go, and I think we're ready to apply, these cutters. So operations, smart apply, and we're done. Now you'll notice that we have some kind of shading problems here on this left side, but don't worry about it. We're gonna handle it later. We have a few more things to do, okay? Alright, so next thing we need to do, we need to create a smoother transition here, kind of a curved one between these two surfaces. So what we need to do is we need to bevel these two edges. Now you'll notice that they have a different color. We're gonna talk about it in a second. But before we do that, let's bevel this, okay? So let's Control B that, and 4 segments is enough, and try to maintain a sort of an equal distance here between, sort of equal size of these quads, okay? That's quite important. All right, cool, that will do. And the other side we'll take care of later. We're gonna symmetrize it, so don't worry about it. We're gonna work on this side, okay? Now you'll notice that we have this kind of like a sharp transition here between these 3 surfaces, right? We need to remove it. What's causing it is actually sharp, mark sharp in Blender. We can remove that by going to edit mode, selecting everything, going to edge mode, right clicking and clearing sharp. This will clear the sharp edge from the equation, okay? Now, when you go to Control tilde menu, right, and press this button here, you will see three types of attributes that are gonna be applied to a mesh using sharp option, okay? And that's crease, bevel weight, and sharp. Seam is turned off, but you can turn it off. That's used for unwrapping. Crease is used mostly for subdivision workflow. We're not gonna be doing that. We can switch it off. Now we have B weight and sharp, okay? Now we could actually turn off sharp as well, because all we're gonna be using in fact is B weight, and we're gonna be using it later on with this trigger. So let's just switch it off for the time being and press OK, right? So now if I'm gonna press Q and sharpen, it will run bevel weight on every single edge that's above 30 degrees in sharpness. So like here, for example, it's 90 degrees, right? Here, you know, would be still 90. But for example, well, we don't have an example now, but we will have in a minute. They're gonna be shallower angles than that. So we're gonna have some interesting conundrum going on with bevels. We're gonna be, you know, fixing that, and we will be needing bevel weight for this. So we're gonna come back to this in a minute, okay? For now, just switch them off, and you know, we can move on with our modeling. So now, before we do anything here, what I want to do is I want to apply a chamfer that will run across this outer edge here, okay? So, you know, this edge here, right? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna select this edge all around here, all right? All around here, right? And we're going to Control B and bevel it and scroll down our mouse. Now when you're going to be beveling this with Control B, you will see there's going to be a menu here on the bottom. You can open it up and turn off this loop slide, okay? So when you turn that off, it will help you with maintaining the level of these supporting edges here on the geometry. They will not move when you're creating the bevel. And this should really help immensely with maintaining the correct shading of this portion, because when you start moving these beams about, okay, that's when the shading starts shifting because it's supporting this curvature here. We have a choice to either encroach on this edge here or not. I'm gonna go aggressively and I'm gonna actually overlap this here. We're gonna fix this in a minute. But before we do anything, we need to fix this disaster here, right? See, that pull is caused by an edge being pulled upwards. So watch this. If I'm going to bevel this one more time, you see what happens with these edges? They just simply being pulled upwards like that. And that actually could be caused by double vert here. There you go, this double vert. Let's fix it first. To fix this problem here, we need to merge these two verts, but we need to talk about curvatures and bevels first. This face is flat, okay? So if I move this edge up, it's possible that this face will lose its straightness, its flatness. So what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to move the supporting beam of the bevel, which usually I would not do, but it's such a microscopic movement, I think it's going to be okay. So click here and press 1. So the vert from the top merges with the one on the bottom. And we need to check if everything is okay on the other side. It seems to be fine. Cool. So now we can run this chamfer, right? So let's simply click here and Control click all around this edge here, right? And Control B that. And now you see that now we got a clean bevel going on. We can make it larger to overlap here on the top. That's cool. Let's go back to edit mode and fix this a bit. GG, we could slide it to relax it a bit. And this one definitely could be relaxed, okay? Here. And that's cool. Now here, you can see that we are losing this curvature. So if you go to side view, orthographic, okay, we can actually move this freely. So press G and move it a little bit to sort of create this gentle curve here, sort of recover it, okay? And make sure that you're not moving this vert on x-axis, because that will break the shading of this wall, all right? Of this, you know, of this face here, this curvature. Now on the other side, we're probably going to have to fix a few things here. GG, move it in here. Same here, GG, move it in. Side view, orthographic, and we're going to just ever so slightly move this one out, okay? Cool. And the rest I think is okay. Right here too, we could just, you know, GG that a little bit to ease off this transition. GG, you know, here too. You could try to run, select this, you know, this edge here and run right click loop tools and relax, you know, this could work, but it might actually shift some supporting beams here. I don't want to do that. I don't want to change the curvature of this, you know, of this plane. Okay, so I don't want to touch it. All right, so with this done, what we're gonna do is we're gonna apply bevel. Okay, so Q and apply bevel, and that's where we're gonna start running into problems. Okay, make it a bit smaller, and this is a fantastic example of problem with the bevel. The reason why this is not this is why shading so badly is because this edge here, okay, is of a angle that's below 30 degrees and it's not been cut by the bevel. If I go to bevel settings, right, you will see that my bevel angle is minimum 30 degrees. That's probably a shallower angle. So if I lower this angle down here, so I'm gonna hold shift and scroll it down, at some point at 25 or something like this, probably 27, there you go, see, caught it. So simply the angle here, the minimum requirement for angle was just too steep and it wasn't catching. Same here, there's gonna be probably like 25 or something. So we can just go to 25. Yeah, 25 basically. That's what's needed, okay. This is why we're gonna be running bevel weight on these edges, and we're gonna be switching this limit method from angle to weight. So what we're gonna do is we're going to run bevel weight and just bevel weight with hard ups on every single edge that we want to have a bevel on. We're not gonna be doing it yet because we need to perform a few more cuts. And we know we're not done with this yet, but so we're gonna be replacing the angle-based bevel with weight-based bevel. All right. Okay. So another thing we need to do is we need to round this up. Okay. So Control B. I would say 10 segments. Don't make it too flat. I want to sort of echo this curve here. So create kind of a, you know, angle like this here. That's cool. And here we're gonna create a cutout. So D. And gone, and let's cut it here. Now I want you to start a little bit lower, okay, not so close to the geo, a little bit lower, because we're gonna be beveling this this angle. And if you're gonna start really close to the geo and you're gonna run bevel, you'll see that this bevel may actually encroach on your shape. So you want to start really low, right, somewhere here like this, and then when you're gonna run B, okay, this bevel here will not affect this straight line here, okay? Just click to apply it. Perfect. And on top of that, we're gonna have one more cut here in the front. So D, square, Shift V, make sure in the view mode, and we're going to cut it here like this. Cut through, not all the way through, somewhere up to here, okay? Now press B for bevel. And when you cannot adjust bevel, simply press tab, press B again, and then you're going to be able to readjust it. And then press Q. And this will create a sort of a quad bevel. So we're going to be beveled here and here. 6 segments is enough. Click and you're good to go. All right, cool. So these are all of our, you know, booleans basically, so we can apply them. So let's go to operations and multiply. And we should be looking good. Awesome. Cool. And now we need to fix our, you know, shading problems, okay? So first of all, here we're gonna be running supporting loops that's gonna be isolating the shading problem from the area that doesn't have to be affected. So press K for knife, and you can actually run it with C, which will run the knife through the mesh. So if you simply click here and run a knife like this, and all the way to this line and to the top, and press space, it should cut through the entire mesh, you see? You went through all the mesh like this. Now we don't really need this one here, so we can remove that. This one to X and dissolve mesh, okay? And this one as well, dissolve mesh. There we go. Cool. So now you see that now our shading's been isolated, the problem's been isolated to just this area. Now the smaller geometry piece is gonna be affected, the better, because the shading is gonna break less on smaller geo, okay? Which is why we're gonna add some additional edges here. So let's combine this two with J, press K, and let's actually make sure that this one is a bit closer. So GG and move it a bit closer, like here. We're gonna combine these two with J, and we're gonna run another loop here, okay, like this, right? Space. Okay, same thing on the other side, K, and let's run a knife here, press C to cut through, and we're gonna run a knife here, here, and here in space. Cool. And let's just clean that. So let's run a supporting loop here, J. And we need to run a supporting loop here, J. And we're gonna run one more with knife, okay? We're gonna run it here, so like this, all right, in space. Cool, and now we can remove this edge. So you see that before we remove this edge here, this one that goes along, right? We need to create edges that actually sustain this curvature, okay? Kind of like a holding edges, right? So that's why we added the edges first, these ones, right? And removing this horizontal edge last. It's really important, okay? Otherwise you will mess up your shading. So let's just remove that and remove it from here too, okay? All right, perfect. And that looks really, really clean, okay? See that? There's another edge here on the top we don't need, so we can remove it. Just be careful because there are two of them. One is on the top here and one is here. We're gonna remove the one that's actually here on the bottom. So this one, dissolve edge, perfect. And then we can work on the bevel. So now what we're gonna do is we're going to go to Control tilde, make sure that only bevel weight is selected, and we're going to simply run sharpen with bevel weight. Now when you go to edit mode, you will see that bevel weight was applied to every single edge above 30 degrees angle, right? Above 30 degrees angle. And the only thing we need to do now is we need to basically fill up the, fill out the gaps, that missing bits, okay? Where the angle is simply too shallow. So we're gonna alt click this loop. We're gonna go to here to loops, okay? Select loops and boundary loops. You can assign shortcut here, by the way. So right click, assign shortcut and shift tilde. And when you run shift tilde, you will select boundary loops, okay? And then press mark, which will unmark edges and mark again. And this will mark these edges for us, okay? Which is really important, right? And then let's check if everything is, everything is selected here. Everything seems to be fine. There's some kind of a beef here. Oh, I think we removed the wrong edge here. That is okay, we can fix this. One here, and we're gonna select this vert, okay, this one. Yeah, let's go to local view here, okay. We're gonna select this vert, right? Shift this vert, Alt A, and we're gonna move this vert up a little bit because we removed basically a wrong edge here. We removed the upper edge, not the lower edge, but this is how you fix this problem. It's gonna be asymmetrical now, but we can fix it later by running symmetry, so don't worry about it. Like I said, we're working only on this side, okay? So now, with these edges being marked with bevel weight, what we can do is go to Control tilde, go to wrench here and change from angle to bevel weight. And you see that all these edges gonna get caught beautifully, right? So this is, perfect. Last thing to fix this kind of like a wonky shading here, we're gonna apply weighted normals. So we're gonna Q and Alt click on sharpen, which will add weighted normal modifier to our mesh and the bottom of the stack, and everything is, perfectly sharp and beautiful. Now all we need to check is if you don't have any rogue edges, but I think we're fine. Another thing I want to do is I want to run a chamfer on this element here. So we're going to select that, and we're going to select that, and we're going to control click that and scroll mouse and, create a chamfer. Another thing we can do, we can run a chamfer inside here. This could also look pretty cool. So let's do that and let's see how badly this is going to behave. So Control B and let's just chamfer it. Actually, it's not bad. It's pretty cool. Really clean. So I'm pleased with that. Nice. Okay then. So now what we need to do, guys, we need to symmetrize this to the other side. Oh yes, we need to still bevel here. So here to create a bevel, guys, when you bevel this with Control B like this, you will notice that these outer edges gonna be beveled, right? This one and this one. So watch this. When I'm gonna go back here, you'll see it's kind of like an artifact going on. The reason being is that because Blender thinks we want to bevel these edges. So to remove that, you select these edges and you simply click mark and it's gonna disappear, right? Now make sure that this curvature here kind of follows this one. This doesn't really follow it, so let's Control Z that, okay? And we go into our mark this before beveling. Go to side view, Control B, and let's follow, let's follow this with maybe 10 segments. Let's follow this curvature more or less, kind of just looks a bit better. Cool. Awesome. I think we're done. So now we need to symmetrize it to the other side. To symmetrize an object to the other side, usually you're going to be using origin point, which is this one, okay? So if I'm going to go Alt X with hard ups to create a mirror, you'll see that it's going to get created in this area. So when I mirror it, I'm going to get this kind of a conundrum, right? What we need to do, we need to move that origin point to the very center of the geo. So if I'm going to go Shift S and move my origin to geometry with machine tools, you will see that it's not in the middle, okay? It's not in the middle, and that's a problem. Now, the reason why this origin point doesn't want to, you know, sort of pop in the very middle, you see it's misaligned, is because we have more verts and more edges on this side than on this side, so it's biased to the right side. So let's simply Alt Z that, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do it with machine tools. So with machine tools, what we can do is we can go to edge mode, select these two edges or these two edges, anything that's symmetrical basically. So let's go with these two edges, right? Shift S, and when you click Shift S and you just leave that pie menu going on, so don't just press Shift and S and hold it, simply Shift and tap S and release it, okay? You will see that pie menu popping up. Now you're going to have different options under edge, and this is really important. If I just click move origin to edge, I may affect the rotation of this origin point. Now watch this. If I'm going to press Alt X, you'll see that my gizmo now is rotated. So if I mirror that, it's going to be messed up. Let's go back again. To do that without affecting rotation, you go Shift S and then you Alt click on edge to origin. You see that? So instead of simply clicking on edge, we're going to Alt click it. And that will move the origin point in between these two edges, and the rotation will not be affected. You see, that's really important, because now what we can do, we can go Alt X and we can apply a symmetry mirror with hard ups. Now to do that, you need to change something in settings in the mirror. On the top here, you're going to see that there is a menu. If you press tab, you're going to enter additional advanced menu. Don't worry about it. But what we need is this, okay? The modifier is basically a basic modifier behavior, so basic simple mirror, which mirrors from left to right or right to left, depends how you run it, right? What we want is symmetry. So go here, click on symmetry. Alternately, what you can do is press D, because it's the same menu, okay? It's just easier because it follows your cursor. So press D and then change to symmetry. So to add mirror with hard ups, it goes like this. Alt X, then press D, choose symmetry in this case, and we're going to symmetrize it from right to left, right? So we're going to click on this right hand side red dot, and that will move all the geo from right side to left side. And now when I'm going to try to Shift S and move my origin to geo, it's going to be perfectly in the middle and it's not going to be rotated, okay? So that's a bit complicated, I know, but this is really important, and a lot of people trip up on this one, and you know, it's quite frustrating to a lot of folks. So, you know, just rewatch this if you need to, but that's how it works. Now, if you want to reset your mirror, okay, if you want to reset from symmetry to whatever else, you can press X and it's gonna reset all the settings, and now there's gonna be a default mirror behavior. So it doesn't matter what kind of settings you have here, if you press X, and then it's gonna reset the mirror, okay? So there you go. And that, I think, covers our trigger. For some reason our trigger moved a bit, but it's okay, we can move it manually back here. Not a big diff. I'm going to align it really well here in this corner. Boom. Make sure it matches. Perfect. And then we're going to move it to the middle because it's not. So GX and just move it here. I can do this manually, guys, it's not a big deal. Remember, it's a rifle, not, you know, not a computer, so it's okay if it's not super accurate. But we can be really precise with this. See that? I think we're in the middle. GX. Maybe not perfectly in the middle. There you go. Now it's kind of, you know, almost in the middle, right? There you go. GX a little bit more. Remember, there's going to be a bevel on this edge here later on, so this is perfect. Sweet. So we're good to go, and that's our trigger. Now let's sharpen this with Control. Now here, let's actually check this, because I've scrolled that, and I want to go to Q and Settings and Wireframe. because I want to see how this cutter, you see, and that's what I was thinking. This cutter here, go a little bit lower, a bit higher, so GZ, and that we could align it perfectly with this, right, here, like that, okay? And then we could change this cutter from fast to exact. So select the mesh and go to booleans and change to exact. And then we're gonna have to lower the trigger a little bit, okay? So GZ and, you know, drop this trigger a little bit, but it's okay. So then when I go back to here and turn off this wireframe, and I'm gonna apply this sharpen, right? And I'm gonna apply bevel. You see these two gonna be almost on the same height, so I can actually combine them and combine this shape to the bevel, not the other way around, because the bevel cannot move. If you move this supporting beam of the bevel, you will change the shape ever so slightly, and that's not a good idea. So always move, you know, to the bevel beam, right? These are the bevel beams, okay? I call them beams. They support the curvature, okay? Anything that's on a flat surface doesn't matter, right? So that's what matters. And then we need to, you know, mirror this to the other side. So Alt-X, symmetry, alright, so D, symmetry, and symmetrize it. And then we're gonna remove the middle edge here, so the middle edge, and dissolve edge, because we don't need it. And this will ensure that everything is symmetrized and perfect. And the shading here can be easily fixed, this one. We can simply run a loop here, so Control R and then run a loop, right? And run a loop here. So K, and then press K, and we're gonna press A for straight line and space. And here we can also run a loop. So we could run a loop like this, you know, like this, right? So we can actually press C for cuts through and run a cut here and space, and this should cut through. There we go. And then we can symmetrize it one more time. So, you know, symmetry, and remove this middle edge again, dissolve edges. Perfect. And let's save it. So this would create a really good shading. Shift 2 to remove cutters. This would create a really good shading, and I think we're looking really solid on this one. Here too, let's create some loops. So Control R, where is it? Control R here, and move the loop here. Another loop here. And we're gonna have some loops in the middle, possibly. But we can think about it later. But we can apply that. So Control click to apply, and apply bevel. And you see we have 0 problems. And now this bevel needs to kind of match, you know, the bevel here on this side, okay? So let me see that, what's going on here. We need to fill it up with faces. So select that, Shift select these and F, select these two and F, and then Control click here, Control select these on the bottom and F, right? And we got a face. Cool. This bevel is too big, so we need to, you know, sort of make it smaller to make it fit. And there we go. And of course, weight the normals to flatten the faces. Now these two should be beveled together. So we're gonna go to edge mode. So select this, Shift select this, go to edge mode, go to occlude. Before we actually do that, we need to remove this junk here on this side. Okay, that is, you know, that is a bit of a problem. So let's just turn it off and select these faces, all of them, and press F. And here too the same thing, press F, all right? And this should be good. Okay, cool. And one more time, Shift select that, go to edge mode. And oh yeah, we need to remove this one, unfortunately, dissolve edge and dissolve edge. Cool. It's a flat surface, so it doesn't matter. There's an end gun here, guys. Okay, don't worry about it. Go to edge mode again, go to occlude, right? Press B and select this, and B and select these two. Go to side view and Control B that. And we can bevel this with, I don't know, 8 segments. I mean, you know, 8 is enough. And there you go. It's gonna make it kind of a cooler transition, sort of follow this, you know, the trigger gonna follow this kind of a curve, you know, echo this shape very nicely. We got some harder angles here and here, harder angles here. It's kind of, you know, interesting flow. This one too needs to be fixed. You see, it needs to follow the stock. So let's just apply a bevel here, press 1 and scale it down. Alt click on sharpen for weighted normals, and we're gonna select this shape and we're going to follow with an angle here. So press D for an angle. I'm gonna follow here with an angle, so we can make sure that this is really well aligned, like this here. Okay, and simply slice this, and we're gonna go here to Alpha Scroll, and we're going to drop it down to make sure that it's really, you know, well aligned. Shift 2, and I think that will do. Let's go to wireframe. So operations and settings in wireframe. Let's see that. Yeah, this is gonna have to be fixed. You see, there's gonna be a problem with the bevel, so we're gonna have to fix it. Also, we probably need to drop it down a bit more. So I will scroll and drop it just a little bit more. And you see, like when you do that, you got all kinds of issues in here, right? So we can fix that by running this edge a little bit differently. Okay, so what we can do is run this edge here like this. Okay, and we can dissolve this one. Dissolve edges might fix the problem. It kind of didn't. Interesting. Let's apply this. Let's just shift to that. Let's apply this cutter. Let's leave the wireframe. Let's apply the cutter. So operations and smart apply. Now let's go here and see what the hell is going on. Ah, we got double verts, that's why. Okay, no problem. Let's just remove this edge here. Dissolve edge. And everything should be peachy, right? There we go. And I got beautiful transition here. No sub D needed. And of course here we have a problem with the bevel. So we need to select this face here and mark it sharp. And we will need to switch this bevel here to weight as well, so it catches on. Now, of course, there's gonna be a problem here, but it's okay. And what we can do is we can actually delete that, dissolve that, and we can run an edge here. You can actually hold your mouse clicked and sort of draw with a knife. It's a new feature of 3.0. Dissolve that, and we're going to select this edge here, right click, loop tools, and see if we can relax it a bit. There we go. And we're going to mirror this to the other side with symmetry and remove the edge in the middle. And we got perfect shading everywhere. So that is really smooth, guys. I really like it. Awesome. This one in the middle here, we definitely need to have a scroll that, and we need to, you know, bevel this. Good idea is to actually create bevels on different angles differently. So this is a 90 degrees angle, or more or less. So we're gonna bevel this one first, maybe like this, with say 8 segments. This one could be a bit more shallow, right? So we could do something like this, for example, you see, and we could add, you know, make it less than 10 segments. And these ones could be, for example, smaller. So, you know, this could be 6 segments, right? And really small, like that. And you got an interesting sort of a bevel game here. This here too should be beveled, so we could just bevel it with, let's say, 10, and you know, it's going to be a smoother experience there. And this is what we're going to think about what to do with a bit later, but I think I might bevel this here on the top a little bit, but I'll think about it. Okay, I'll think about it. This one should be cut a bit differently, should be actually following the stock, probably like that. It's going to be a bit better. Now this shape, let's bevel this and press 1 for smooth bevel. Press Alt, click on sharpen to fix weighted normals. This bevel is insane, so we need to make it smaller. This cutout is actually a pretty bad idea, so let's scroll and let's just adjust this cutter here to create, you know, minimal impact on our shading. This is gonna be an absolute bastard. Well, if you wanted to have an easy life, you know, you could do it like that. I think we actually might go for that, you know, just to make our life easier. Because cutting through the bevel is going to be an absolute bastard without sub-D or without any, you know, transferring normals, etc. So this is just unnecessary headache, we can avoid it. So if you can avoid headaches, avoid them, okay? So this looks really good, guys. What else we need to do? We need to bevel these, right? So bevel them, press 1. And, you know, we can copy the modifiers here. So let's apply weighted normals, select this one, shift select this one, and then Control C and copy modifiers. This is a courtesy of let's just sharpen this, a courtesy of the copy attributes menu add-on. Every single cut is beveled, everything is perfect, we look really beautiful. Now this one could use a chamfer, so we could apply modifiers here. And now before we do that, we need to actually run these connecting bevel edges a bit better. This is an extremely bad idea, and I'll show you why. Let me go to settings and wireframe. If I'm going to increase the bevel size on this, look what's going to happen to this edge. It's going to get pulled, you see that? And the reason why is that because it's simply not at 90 degrees. If you wanted to run edges to your bevels, okay, always try to run them at 90 degrees. This is really, you know, one of the best advices I can give you guys. So let's just turn off this this wireframe because I don't need it. So let's go to settings and wireframe. So I'm going to select this one, okay, and I'm going to slice it with an N-gon like this. Press K for knife, okay, so K for knife. And you're going to slice it like that, you see. So here I'm going to be removing these edges, dissolve them, and here too, dissolve them. And then I'm going to, let's just sharpen this, okay. And we're going to select these edges here all around. And we're going to chamfer them, all right. I want to chamfer them quite a bit actually. Oh, maybe that's too strong. I think this should do. Let's look at the original gun. Yeah, there is a chamfer here, maybe not that big. And we still need this cutout here, which is important. Okay. This chamfer is actually pretty cool. That's gonna work for us. And we can probably bevel this a little bit. Okay. So let's create 6 segments here. Now we don't need this to be sharp here, so we can use recalculate sharpen. So Control Shift click on sharpen, which will remove all the sharpen and re-add sharpen at any edge that's above 30 degrees. Since that's not 30 degrees, it's been removed, which is really handy. And we can actually slice this, guys, okay? So we can slice this with an N-gon here. So let's go to N-gon and slice it off here like this. And we're going to cut it, so E and cut it, right? And we're going to rotate it, so go to back view and have a scroll, okay? And we're going to rotate this a little bit like that, and, you know, make this bigger and move it in here to the corner and rotate it a bit more and move it somewhere here. All right, and rotate it like that and move it somewhere here. SXX or YY, ZZ. There we go, and, you know, sort of align it here a little bit so these two edges are aligned. And we could chamfer this or bevel this with, actually, before we do that, GY, let's actually expand this, and then, you know, bevel this with 6 is enough. And this kind of shape is going to be really cool, kind of falling off. And let's align this properly here, so let's rotate it like that and move it a bit here. Don't go too deep, because remember we're gonna have to mirror this to the other side, right? So the Alt X to reset mirror, and let's see how this looks. But I think that looks really cool. I really like it. We still need a cut in the top, so through the shape. So we need to remember that. That looks really awesome. Beautiful curve in the back. This could be actually sharpish, or we could, you know, kind of bevel this as well. So what we could do here is actually bevel this one, right? Like this, all right? We could actually use 8 segments here. So 8 segments, okay? Or we could chamfer this. Maybe chamfer is going to be better. It's going to be kind of echoing this shape. Oh yeah, that's really lovely. And we could actually, you know, bevel these. So bevel these and create like a 4-segmented kind of bevel here. And then what we can do, we can slice this bugger off. All right, so we can slice this bugger off here like this, holding control, and boom. And this is going to be really interesting. I really like that. Yeah, that is so cool. It's actually a bit better than the original one. I really like it. You know, this is our blockout basically prepared for, you know, creating some more interesting cuts and shape. We can start designing the barrels, you know, the receiver, the trigger, etc., and then move on to the top. It's not gonna be a super long course, guys. I'll try to make it as simple as possible. And like I said, the blockout is the phase where you should spend the most amount of time. A reason being is because the blockout is the bones, okay? If the bones are correct, your posture is gonna be correct. You know, your health is gonna be good. The posture is everything, so the balance of the blockout is the most important thing during modeling. So when you model something, you make sure that everything is well balanced, everything is proportional. When you have an unbalanced and badly designed blockout, doesn't matter what kind of details you're gonna put on it or what kind of cool concept you design, it's gonna look a little bit weird, okay? So that's really important. Alright guys, well, thanks for watching, and see you in the next part.